Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Louisa, and I am making content with the intersection between mental health and spirituality, and maybe just life in general, how to live on the planet in this time and this era. So this topic I feel is really important for all of us right now because it's a very intense time, a lot of stimulus coming in from our environments, from the media. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot for our nervous systems to handle. And as well as that, I speak a lot about trauma. So many of us already have highly sensitive nervous systems that have gone through a lot of trauma. So we may well be prone to the stress of the stimulus that comes in, whether it's conflict in your family or it's noticing a news article about war or climate problems, or basically anything that creates fear and stress in the human body will potentially impact your nervous system in a negative way. And it's not just your nervous system. Today's topic is actually about your energy field. I want to go a bit more etheric. Often when I teach trauma, it's about the body, it's about the nervous system, and it's also about our stories and our personal lives. And I don't often get the chance to talk about the bigger picture, which is the actual holistic energy field that is kind of a composite of all of those things, right? Our energy field is almost like a mirror of what's going on inside us. It's an extension of what's going on inside us. So I like to imagine it as a kind of an egg around me that I'm, sitting in. And people who can see auras and work with auras will actually see the energy field. I am not one of those people. I wish I was. I've spent hours looking for my aura, and I'm just not visual like that. But I do know plenty of people that can see those things, and it's spookily accurate what they can pick up. I'm more of a clairsentient person, so I can feel my energy field very clearly. And I also get impressions from metaphorical impressions from my higher self, my higher knowing about the state of my energy field. So I can meditate on my energy field. I can close my eyes and I can look in my mind's eye and see how my energy field is, how healthy it is. Now, your energy field can get knocked about for all sorts of reasons: physical health, mental health, emotional health, or spiritual health issues, that are happening in your life. So as I said, it's like a composite of all of those things. And healers will read energy fields to try and remove blockages and so forth. But I want to make content that enables you to do things for yourself so that you can become your own healer. You can become conscious, first of all, of your energy field if you aren't already. And you can really begin to work with this aspect of yourself to keep yourself well balanced, well operating, functioning, while our earth goes through big changes and while the collective of humanity goes through big changes. So I am calling this concept energetic hygiene, a little bit like our concept of sleep hygiene that gets talked about quite a lot in psychology. This idea that we need to have sort of hygienic practices around our sleep so that we get a good night's sleep. And it's the same with energy. We need to have good practices that support a clean energy field, a really well-functioning energy field. So the first thing I want to do, I've actually got some slides for you guys today to show you this. I want to show you what a bad energy field looks like, if I can put that in quote marks, an unhealthy energy field, let's just say. So I think hopefully many of you will relate to this. I know that, my energy field fluctuates and sometimes it looks like this. So no shaming, no judgment. If you can relate a lot to this slide, I'll just share it with you. So here we have my impression of a unhealthy energy field. And there's a few aspects here I'm going to talk you through. First of all, I've used a metaphor there of a storm, right? Now, storms can be healthy, of course. They are healthy. They flush out, stagnant energy, and they circulate energy through the weather pattern, the weather system on our planet. But An unhealthy personal energy field is one that's always in a storm or always has dark clouds, to use a metaphor there, right? A lot of drama, a lot of pain, a lot of fear will be coming up in a personal energy field that is unhealthy. So I'm just using that storm metaphor to describe the kind of drama, the constant pain that might be sitting in a personal energy field. And there's a few elements that I want you to pay attention to. And the first one is, if you can notice that I've put some little lines around the outside of that little egg, that personal energy field. And those lines they have quite big gaps in them. So the first thing to look is that box up the top there, referring to those lines. And those lines represent the permeability of your energy field. So in other words, how easily can energy come out of your system and how easily can it come in? And you might have heard this concept of holes in a person's aura, or holes in their energy field, or a leaky energy field, or a leaky auric field. These are all descriptions of the same kind of thing. So I've created those dotted lines to depict that there are quite big holes or gaps, right, where energy can either leak in or out. So as I've written up there, excessive permeability of the field, leading to boundary problems, giving too much of self, and codependent relationships. So this is when your energy is constantly leaking out and you're also allowing other people's energy in excessively. There's a lot of holes there. So this presents as boundary problems in relationships, meaning you might get overly involved in other people's emotions or stuff or dramas. Conversely, you might expect the same of other people. So you'll try to draw them into your stuff and expect them to heal you or help you in an excessive way, in a way that doesn't feel balanced. So that can be experienced as very draining for other people. And you can also get very drained. You might be constantly trying to kind of save people or help people. As I've written up there, giving too much of self is a boundary problem, not knowing how much energy you've got in reserve and just leaking it all out. Also expecting that other people maintain and keep your energy field healthy. So that's a codependent relationship. So in other words, I can only be happy if this other person in my life is happy, right? So my energy field is dependent on their energy field. And that means you've got too much permeability. You're taking on other people's stuff. Now, another possibility, I'll just stop sharing so I'm not having you stare at that image the whole time. Another possibility is that line is actually rigid, like solid line. So rather than have holes in it, it's actually solid. And what that represents is a rigid energy field, a rigid barrier. There is no permeability. Now, it's impossible to have completely no permeability because we actually live in a universal collective energy field where we're interacting with the environment all the time. However, there are many people who, through trauma, through pain, decide to close up all of those holes, to make it like a shield around themselves, right? An armor that becomes very, very difficult to kind of get in. So that type of person is not circulating their energy. They're not letting any out. They're not giving to other people because they don't trust other people, right? They've gone through stuff. If you're one of those people, it's because you've gone through things that have taught you that the world is unsafe. The world is a place to be feared, or other people are a place to be feared. So you shut down that auric field, not to allow anyone in. And how that might present in a worldly way is, you might not have any friends or not many relationships, and you're very insular. You might not leave your house, or you might guard your feelings extremely and not kind of let people in and know who you really are. So you don't want, there's a sense of what is in your energy field is very vulnerable and you don't want to let anyone in, right? So both of those examples are imbalances and ends of the opposite extreme. So you've got too much permeability, letting everything in and letting everything out, versus complete rigidity, not letting anything in and not letting anything out. just go back to that picture. So then I dive a little bit more deeply into the energy that's coming out of your energy field. And as I wrote there, I said, you're leaking energy out to others and the world without conscious free will. So this isn't to say you don't mean to do this, right? It's just an unconscious thing that's happening because of the way your energy field has been created through your life experiences. So you will just leak it out without even knowing that you're doing it. And you might conversely also have the feeling that you're being manipulated, controlled, or obligated. So that's why you're kind of leaking it out. You'll feel like people are making demands on you. You have to say yes. You've got no other option to leak that energy out. So, of course, people who identify as people pleasers will be aware of that dynamic of, really feeling like they just have to keep doing something, being drawn into giving it out. Now, conversely, when we're receiving energy and we've got a lot of holes in our auric field like this, we're going to receive a lot of negative energy. We might be receiving negative energy and we might be unconsciously blocking positive energy because we're a frequency match to that negative energy. We've got a lot of negative energy swirling around inside of us. So we're going to be letting in what feels familiar and we're going to be blocking out positive. Unconsciously, we have no idea we're doing it, right? And until you start to become aware of this stuff, please do not ever blame yourself, beat yourself up if you can see that you've been doing this, because it's a learned behavior that protects you. All of the dysfunction in the human psyche and human behavior can be boiled down to adaptations of the nervous system to try and keep you safe. And usually it relates all the way back to childhood. But I'll be going off topic if I go down that path. So we'll just leave it at that for the moment. And then the last little bit of my diagram is that tangled knot of red down the bottom here. And what that is supposed to represent is, those tangles within yourself, the inner conflicts where your mind just keeps going around in circles about a problem. You just can't seem to solve it. You feel triggered every time the topic comes up. It might be like a tangle around money. Money's a really triggering topic for a lot of people. So, feeling like you've got not enough money and then other people are being greedy and that can trigger you, or you constantly thinking about those people that owe you money, that kind of thing can become like a tangle in the mind and also in the energy field. And what you'll tend to do if you've got this unhealthy energy field is you may get into the habit of blaming others or projecting your own emotional tangles and triggers on other people. You could also blame yourself as well, but blame will be one of the key notes of the kind of reaction to this tangle within you. Is you're going to blame either yourself, think you're like the worst person ever, that you've got this problem, I can never make enough money, I'm hopeless, I'm a failure, that kind of thinking, which just goes round and round and round and circulates in your energy system. Or it's everybody else's fault. It's their fault. They did me out of money. It's because of them, or because of my circumstances where I was born, that kind of thing. So blame and projection meaning projecting something that's within your energy field out onto somebody else or the world in general, right? We can even do this with our concept of God or the universe. We can get angry and we can project out onto that. Like, why am I so poor? What is blame, right? Not taking responsibility there for your experiences. Okay, so that's like an unhealthy energy field, which I just wanted to begin this with, to now move on to what a healthy energy field looks like. So you can kind of see what you might be aiming to work towards with this idea. Here we have my impression of a positive personal energy field, a healthy one. So you'll notice a few differences straight away. Firstly, the image that I used is deliberately evocative of purity and cleanliness and freshness, right? But there's also just a little hint of an angel sitting in there. And I want that as a reference to this idea that the center of your energy field is your God source, is your connection to the universe, to all that is. And that is a supremely divine and pristine part of your energy field. It's the center of you. It's really who you are. Now, this energy field is fractal too. Remember that. So if this is the whole of you and you're kind of in the middle as a little person here, this is also representative of each of your cells, which is a fractal of your greater whole, just like you are a fractal of the greater whole of the universe. So your cells will be looking like this if you have a healthy personal energy field as well. And every cell has at its center the photonic connection to the DNA, to the light codes of who you are. Now, I'm struggle to explain that, sorry, but I totally understand it. So forgive me if I make a bit of a mess of explaining cells and DNA and photonic light that exists in the center of each of them. But the way that I perceive it is that that light is actually the center of the God source. It's the God spark within each of us. It's the I am presence that is in our hearts and in our cells, every cell of our body. So when we're vibrating at a very high frequency, it's as if our cells are all lit up in our bodies. And the reason I know this is my guides show this to me in these metaphors. This is how I can understand it because I don't have a good language for explaining things scientifically. So they show it to me in metaphor, and I see how our cells are all like little stars, like lit up. And the more unhealthy our energy field, the denser those little cells are. You know, they get clouded over by the gunk of the negativity. But as we gradually work to heal ourselves and replenish ourselves and take care of ourselves, our personal energy field gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner until it looks like an idealized version like this picture here. So, so that's the image. And then you'll see around the edges a perfectly perforated little barrier of the energy field, right? This is what allows a healthy balance with others and your environment, with you and others and environment, right? So your field is permeable in a balanced way. You're naturally and easily letting in what serves and you're releasing what doesn't, just like breathing, right? Breathing is our physical representation of a personal energy field. Our personal energy field also breathes. It takes in things and it releases things, right? Now, when we release things, we're giving out energy to others in the world via our free will. So our awareness is present in this depiction of a personal energy field. We are aware of what's going on, and therefore we can actually judge, is this the time to give out our energy? And if it is, via our free will, we will also feel heartfelt compassion and joy as we do so. So whenever we're giving out our energy, it's from a place of having a really full cup, right? That, or another analogy that's often used, you feel full of love, full of light, full of inspiration, and you can easily share that with other people. You want to share that with other people. And conversely, when you're receiving energy from others in the world, you do so with gratitude and with humility. Again, you're conscious of it. You're aware of the gift that somebody is giving you. Potentially, even if it's negative, which we'll get to in a second. So you're able to receive that energy. You know, there are so many people I meet who actually find it extremely hard to receive love, to receive compliments, to receive goodness, abundance, right? Abundance is a beautiful, one of my favorite words, because it's not just about money and material wealth, right? It's also about abundance of rain when we need rain, or abundance of sunshine when we need sunshine, or abundance of food, or abundance of friendships, abundance of joy, overflowing, right? Anything that feels joyful, it's abundance. So when our energy field is healthy, we allow that in. We allow compliments, we allow love, we allow people to help us. We're not resisting it and thinking, oh no, I owe those people now, or perhaps I can't say yes to that. So you're saying yes to life in an appropriate way. Okay. Now, if we remember the tangle from the previous slide, this tangle here is we're going to get tangled, right? This is just the nature of humanness, being a human on this planet. I would say that as your personal energy field starts to look pristine and beautiful like this, you'll get less and less tangles, but they will come. And when they do, if you recall, the previous slide showed the arrow going out and that we were blaming others and projecting it out onto the world. But with this version of a personal energy field, what we're actually doing now is we're taking responsibility for integrating our own emotional tangles and triggers. So that little arrow eventually leads right into the heart of the self, into the heart, where we transmute that, right? We drop from being so in the head with the stories of this is what's happened and it's unfair and I'm a victim and, da 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 da. We basically work through that so that it actually drops down into the heart and is simply felt as emotions and is integrated. And once it's integrated, meaning synthesized, we've accepted this. We've taken responsibility for our feelings and what's happening inside us. And quite often we can also see a higher gift, right? Then it integrates and it transmutes just naturally. It's like a filter system within the energy field. Think of it like that. The negative, yucky, tangled feeling goes in through this filter of the heart and is evaporated, like gone, completely gone. You can work with this stuff to such a degree that something that triggered you terribly for a lot of your life can actually be fully transmuted so that when you hear of that person or see that thing that was triggering, there's just nothing. So yeah, that's at the adept stage, when you're really, really good at this. In the meantime, you might need some help. You might need people to facilitate that for you and to help show you how to do trauma integration and emotional integration work. Okay, so I'm now going to show you a little, just some ideas on how you can begin to really cultivate this beautiful, pristine energy field. I mean, I guess it's obvious why it's so important, but I'll say it that, you are going to feel so much happier when your energy field is clean like this. That it becomes second nature to you. It's a bit like, brushing your teeth in the morning, if that's what you do every day. I know I do, or at nighttime too. And I don't feel good unless I've done that. So a lot of these practices of keeping your energy hygiene good will become so second nature that you'll have to do them. You'll feel when you're really off. You'll feel when your energy's system is going down, and you'll correct it automatically. So here are some ideas on things you can do to enhance this for yourself and just kind of work on. By no means a comprehensive list. There's a lot of, beautiful ways that people do this. So here are just some ideas. So I've got morning attunement to your own energy field. So I think this one is really an excellent practice if you can do it, given that when we wake up, we've already done a lot of processing of our energy field through our dreams and our sleep, but we might be left with the gunk, anything that the mind and the body and the psyche couldn't process overnight. So we could wake up with worries, we could wake up with stress, with negative thinking, or just feeling funky, just feeling off. So if we can make it a priority in the morning to the very first thing we do to actually attune to our own energy field and just tune in and say, hello. Okay. You might even do this before you get up. You might just be lying there before you get out of bed and you can do this. Me, I actually like to kind of build it into my meditation practice. So, I'll get my cup of tea and I'll light some incense and burn a candle and make some prayers. And then I will close my eyes, take a really deep breath and go into my body to find out how am I feeling today, right? It's like really saying hello to myself on an energetic level. And for me, I get images that help me to understand what my energy field looks like. So I quite often work with a sort of a toroidal field meditation where I'm meditating and I'm seeing on the in-breath, I'm seeing light come up from the center of our earth up through my base and sacral chakras, up through chakra system, all the way up through my spine. And then on another in-breath, I breathe in the energy from the celestial, from the great cosmos. So imagine that coming in. And on my second out-breath, I imagine it cascading around me in a toroidal field. So it's an in-breath coming in from the earth. On an out-breath, it winds up my spine. On the in-breath, into the cosmic energy, in through my crown. And then that cosmic energy and that energy from earth are basically meeting in my heart, which is the center of our body. And from there, it's cascading around in a toroidal field. Okay. This technique is actually from Kriya Yoga. You know, I'm not a student of that yoga, but it's just something I picked up on my journey, and I really enjoy it. So, you know, you can work with these kinds of things, modify them for yourself, do what feels good, you know, allow yourself to be your own teacher, really. You know, I think the time on our planet is coming where we don't need to refer to experts to create these things for ourselves, because we're really honoring our own wisdom, our own connection to source. We have all that information inside of us. So, you know, just experiment, find what works for you, and begin to cultivate that as your own practice. So for me, what will happen when I do that is I'll be able to tell through visualization. I can see that toroidal field, and I can see how bright it is. Sometimes colors might come in. If the filaments are really, those little filaments that I can imagine of energetic light are really sort of weak looking and not as bright, I know that my energy's down. I mean, I can feel that anyway, but this is just my way of like clairsentience feeling, as well as clairvoyance, you know, being able to see what's going on for me. So I just attune to myself, and you know, from there, once you've attuned, you can then ask yourself, what do I need? What do I need today? Now, you know, this is something that you will do throughout the day as well, hopefully, is you can monitor your energy and adjust, because what you want is, you want your tank to be full, which is another way of saying you want your energy field to be vibrating really highly, full of light and inspiration and energy. But if it's not, you don't beat yourself up either. If it's not, you take care of yourself. You know, that's all. There's no judgment here. You're not waking up and going, oh, my energy feels really funky. That means I'm an awful person and I haven't been, well, maybe you haven't been looking after yourself. Maybe that's why. But, you know, again, it's not about blaming. It's just about self-awareness. Right. Okay. What do I need to do to balance it then? What choices can I make today that are really going to support my energy field? So that might be, you know, resting. If your tank isn't full, or your phone battery, if you imagine your energy field like an iPhone battery or something, you know, if it's really low and you know you need recharging, then rest if you can, or just at least delete out those appointments which are not 100% necessary. You know, that social gathering with the neighbors that you really don't need to go to, or whatever it might be. Just lessening what you have to do and resting if that's what you need. On other days, you might be really flat and you feel sort of depressed and low, but you know in your own heart that it would be really good for you to go for a walk or do something energetic. So maybe you move your body. Moving your body is a great way to reset your energy field. I don't even have that on my list, but you know, there's all sorts of techniques like that which will recharge your energy field if it's kind of stagnant. And you'll know, again, this is such a personal thing, so I'm not going to go through a whole lot of list of, you know, self-care strategies to optimize your health, because I'm sure many of you already have some, listening to music, breath work, that kind of thing. But suffice to say, the point is that you're really tuning into what you need, and then you're giving yourself what you need. That's the key. That's beautiful if you can do that. And I think that's the next point I was making, which is honoring how you feel and what you need. You know, again, the old paradigm, the old way of doing things as a human on this planet was to just push through, disregard how you feel and get on with your day. I often think of those adverts for headache tablets or something showing, people just pushing through their headache. They take a Panadol and they can keep going. But it's, while we sometimes all may need to do that now and then, honoring how we feel. If you have a headache, it's a sign from your being that you need rest. It's a sign from your being that you're stressed, so you need rest. This next point, when you feel triggered or stressed by something, taking the time out to process, this is really important as well. It's similar to the one just above, but it's more in relation to that tangle that I was talking about. When we feel that come up in us, and we all know the difference between that and just general everyday, feeling. It's something shifts very quickly in you. You suddenly feel yuck. You might feel your stomach tensing. You might, 1 minute you were feeling good, and then all of a sudden you just feel off, and you notice that your thoughts are becoming a bit negative, something like that. So taking some time out to process that. You might journal about it. You might just feel it. You might just do a little meditation. You might have a thought, think about it. You might talk to someone about it. That can be a very helpful way of processing. But you're really processing it. You're taking responsibility for it. That's the point here, rather than suppressing it, denying it, pushing on. And then, like, let's say the trigger was frustration, was anger. I had a little thing with this the other day where I went out into my vegetable garden and my capsicums had been eaten in the middle of the night by some critter, which was just really frustrating because I've been trying to grow them for so long, and we've had a lot of drought here. So I've been having to use my precious water to cultivate these capsicums. And then some little bandicoot or whatever eats my capsicum. Well, I got triggered, but I didn't catch it in time. And I just kind of let it sit in my system. And then, sure enough, about half an hour later, I found myself arguing with my husband. And I caught myself. I'm like, oh gosh, okay, wait a minute. It was because of the capsicum, and maybe a few other things from the night before. But I could tell I'd been triggered, and I wasn't taking responsibility for my feelings. I wasn't processing them. So I ended up taking it out on my husband. That's what happens if you don't take responsibility. Okay, so another one is recognizing what's your stuff and what's other people's stuff. And this one's really important if you're a person with a leaky whole energy field. If you, you're just constantly feeling like you're giving out your energy when you don't really want to be, and you may also have a difficulty really feeling what you want, and that can be one reason why you do this, because the other person seems to have a clearer idea. Maybe they make decisions more clearly, or they seem to think that they know what you should want. And you can be a bit vulnerable like that if you haven't got if you're not very tuned into how you actually feel about things. So yeah, it is super important to understand that it might not be your stuff. It might actually be someone else's projection onto you. If someone is triggered and is attacking you or sending you out some kind of negative vibe, or trying to guilt trip you maybe, or push something onto you that you don't want, or you just feel like they're in your space a bit, that might be their stuff. It might be nothing personal for you. So you may have to process that, right? Because often if we're empathic and we're sensitive people, we can take it on board. We can think it's our stuff. Oh yeah, they're right. I should be doing this, or I am a bad person, or, because I'm not saying yes to that invitation, or I'm not jumping to help them immediately, that kind of thing. So separating it out and recognizing what is someone else's stuff. This becomes especially important when it comes to close people in your life, your partner or boyfriend or girlfriend, your parents, your children, right? Those relationships are the worst for kind of entangling energy. And in a lot of ways, we are kind of one, right? Because you spend so much time with them that your energy fields do merge. So, if you're having a lot of problems in one or more of those relationships, it's a good idea to separate for a while. Just, even if it's just for a few hours or a night, or go and get some space to think for yourself, to feel your own energy. create that space, you're taking responsibility for it then, and work out what's their stuff, what's my stuff. Because your stuff is the stuff you get to work on. You can't work on other people's stuff for them. You can just change your behavior, and you can communicate this. You can share how you feel about things. You can share what you would like. And that's kind of as much as your control goes. So yeah, you won't leak out a lot of energy then trying to fix somebody else. That is a trap that so many of us get involved in. When our energy fields are suffering and we're in pain, what we do is we project it outwards. We try to solve everybody else's problems, thinking erroneously that if we just solve everybody else's problems, then somehow our energy field will become, beautiful and healthy. And that's actually not the way it works. It's the opposite. It's like leaving people to their own business, leaving people to their own stuff. They are responsible for their energy fields. You are responsible for yours. Cool. Now it's interesting because that, it sounds so obvious to me now, and yet there was a time in my life when I really, really struggled to, oh dear, sorry. I really struggled to put this into practice. It was very, very hard for me. I was a constant people pleaser. Okay. Another point that can help with the energy field is, if in doubt, wait a while, proceed mindfully. So there are times when it's just not clear what you should do. So I like to just wait. If, my emotions might sort of untangle themselves on their own, even that can help after a good night's sleep, for example. We don't want to be reactive. That's not being responsible for your energy field. This ties into the next step, which is acting from neutrality, not from negative emotions. When we act from a place of negative emotions, we are reactive. In other words, we feel angry, so we're going to then attack somebody, or we feel frustrated, so we're going to, address it straight away, or we feel that, we're not getting our needs met. So out of that fear and that sense of not being loved, we might get very upset and try and demand from the other person that they act a certain way, that they meet our needs. It's nothing wrong with any of those feelings. That's not what I'm saying. We're fully entitled to feel every single feeling we feel. Our feelings are a beautiful part of being a human being. But we don't want to act from those places. We don't want to make demands on people from that energy. We want to act from neutrality, because when we act from neutrality, we have much more of a chance of actually coming to a really healthy solution with that other person. So I'll give you an example here just to kind of make that one really clear. I had a bit of a conflict with my neighbor who was making very loud noises and was getting a bit triggered by it. So I had this tangle, and every time I heard this noise, I was like, oh, it was stirring me up. Now, I could have, the old Louisa years ago probably would have felt that anger when she heard the noise, and then marched on over to the neighbor's property and probably ended up in an argument, because I would have brought all this yucky energy into that encounter, and she would have been on the defensive immediately, right? So much human communication is about energy. No idea. We always think it's about our words. It's not at all. It's how we feel. It's the feeling behind our words, and that's our energy field speaking. So I waited. I processed. I meditated on it. I thought about what was my part in it. Why am I getting so upset about this? And then I kind of set up a bit of a mantra to work with over a few days, to help me come into a state of peace and equilibrium and acceptance, i.e. neutrality. And then I went over and talked to her. And because my energy field was calm and I wasn't demanding things of her, and I was just simply speaking my truth, but the tone of it was open and gentle and kind, she said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't even realize. And she turned down the music in this case, right? So, and then it wasn't a problem henceforth. So I'm extremely grateful to her. But also, can you see how I was responsible for that? It's not just her actions, it's a team effort, right? We are constantly interacting with the world. It's 50% us and 50% them, the others. Yeah, it's a meeting. It's always a dynamic meeting. So what we do is we take responsibility for our part, for our energy field, and we create from that place. Cool. So the last one on my list there is to be mindful about what you allow into your field. Okay, this one is super important because I think so many people forget this one and don't realize that what you expose yourself to. Now, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about the lighting in your home or wherever you live or where you work, the kind of materials around you, the colors around you. If you work in a supermarket, you're going to have to do some good clearing, keeping your energy field strong, because those environments, you're under fluorescent lights all the time, a lot of noise, like from the overhead speakers and the very loud music, and then you've got a lot of color, a lot of stimulus coming at you. When I was very unwell, I couldn't even go into supermarkets without taking a Valium because it was such an overwhelming environment, right? So sensitive folks quite often are like the canaries in the coal mine here. We can feel a stressful environment way before other people, and we will react to it, and we will find it very difficult to be in those environments. So that's just an extreme example. Hats off to you people who do work in supermarkets, because it's not an easy environment to work in. And you can do these things. I'm not saying you can't, but you've got it. Again, it's about tuning into you and how it's affecting you, and thinking, if it is negatively affecting you, what can I do about that? Right. So your environment, the noise, as I said before, is also really important. And then it's what you're exposing yourself to. So what kind of media are you watching? What kind of books are you watching? Are you eating breakfast, reading the newspaper with all the daily bad news in it while you try and digest your muesli? Can you see how that's an interference? You're giving on one hand, you're giving your physical body nourishment, but on the other, you're bringing in this very negative mental frequency while you eat, and those things will get tangled up because everything is connected. Yeah, we can't separate one from the other. So, if you're in the habit of eating while you're reading or something, or watching TV, just do this experiment. Instead of that, whenever you eat, create a beautiful environment for yourself. Light a little candle, put some music on, whatever it is, or sit outside, or just, even if it's just in silence, and just eat slowly and mindfully and enjoy the silence, and be very conscious of the food and cultivate gratitude for that as a little exercise to see what a difference it makes in how you feel. Now, how you feel is an indicator of your energy field at all times. So this is what you can use. You can use your feelings as a kind of barometer. Have I done something here which has negatively affected my energy field, or is it good? Yeah. Is it good for me? Because we're all different. I can't tell you, really what to do. I mean, most people find that mindful eating is a good thing. Most people find that, a beautiful home environment or soft lighting, warm lighting at nighttime is good for their nervous systems. But we are all different, so you can experiment and figure it out for yourself. Caffeine, for example, a lot of people will say, oh, that's very bad for your nervous system. But me personally, I have tried with or without, and I really benefit, I think, from a couple of cups of good quality coffee a day. It works really well for me. It's a stimulant. It's a plant medicine. It helps, keep me very alert, obviously, in the morning when I like to do my work. And in the past, it used to be a bit of an antidepressant as well. So people often say coffee is bad, but for me, it's good. Okay, mindfully drinking my water. Okay, so yes, be very careful what you consume. If you are feeling vulnerable, triggered, off, again, be careful what you let in. Be careful who you speak to. Which person are you going to ring? Are you going to ring, that person in your life that whinges about everything and is dumping on you and makes you feel bad or judges you? Or you're going to ring a friend who is just super good at listening and is kind, you know, because the other friend might be great company on a girls' night out when you hit the town, lots and lots of fun, but is that the best person to ring when you're feeling down? You know, so people, anything really that you encounter in the world is a form of letting in. So protect yourself if you need to. Protect yourself if you're feeling lower, more vulnerable, and only expose yourself to those people or those things or that media when you're feeling strong, when your energy field is strong. Cool. Okay, I think I've got one more slide for you guys. So this one is about using triggers as catalysts. This is a very sort of quick, sorry, not quick, a simplified version of the process that you might work with when you get very triggered, which I mentioned before is that tangled knot in the energy field. When you feel really triggered by something, it's a sure sign that the origin belongs to an unhealed wound in the past, right? So you can have mild triggers like, I don't know, road rage, for example. You might get really annoyed if someone cuts you off. But have you noticed when that happens, for most of us, it's just poof, gone. Like you don't worry about it afterwards. You have your moment of anger and you might yell at them and then it's gone. But if that same incident was like stirring you up to the point where when you actually arrived at work, you were still shaking and you wanted to murder the person, well, you might have an unhealed wound there in terms of the past. There might be something in your history that originated way, way, way back where, you know, you were always second best in the family. You were always cut in front of. Your parents never maybe saw who you really were as a child and didn't honor your needs, or something might have happened to you at school. Like there's so many ways that we can get hurt in this world. We have been living in a very, very difficult realm to navigate. So no doubt there will be some trauma in there. And as I said, if you get really triggered by something, it usually means that it's not just what's happened right in front of you. It actually belongs to something that's happened in the past. That's where it originated. We can use these triggers then. So when we do feel really triggered, we can use them as catalysts for integration. Now that term comes from the law of one, and I can refer you to Aaron Abke as a wonderful scribe almost, or translator of that amazing material. So I'll post that link down below. The catalyst integration, that's what the channel beings, the collective consciousness of Ra, talk about, is something I've been working with for years, but I just stumbled upon that term recently and I thought, yeah, that perfectly captures it, because triggers are catalysts. Triggers are chances to feel your feelings. They are chances to become more self-aware, to think about where that trigger comes from, the origin of it, and to find the gift and the meaning. Yeah, because when you go through that process, you completely clear it. It's gone. You know, otherwise, if you don't do that process, it'll stay in your energy system and it just accumulates there. And then at some point we have to do a big clean out, which is usually called a crisis. You know, you hit rock bottom and suddenly you've actually got to look at all this stuff and feel all this stuff. So it's really good to be able to clean your energy field as you go. When you get triggered, deal with it. Don't push it away. Don't repress it. I made another video called the Steps to Trauma Recovery, which I'll also post below, because that video talks about those steps that I just showed you. These steps here: name your feeling, connect to the origin if you can, feel your feelings and find the higher purpose and gift. Talks about those in a lot more detail, really goes into them. Yeah. Well, that's kind of it for me. I think I've covered everything I wanted to there. Yeah, just hopefully that will be really helpful for a few people out there, as being mindful of, you know, the whole of you, not just your physical self, but also your emotional self, your mental self, your spiritual self, as described by this energy field. It's all around you. It is you. So I hope that you take care of it as best you can. As I said, do not beat yourself up if you feel very, very far away from your ideal energy field. It is a process of cultivating it choice by choice, moment by moment. And, you know, after a long time, or maybe a short time, you know, energies are moving quickly on the planet now, and I've noticed that people are healing faster than ever. If with a little bit of intention and a little bit of focus, you can actually create these changes quite quickly and see the benefit quite quickly, which is really encouraging. So yeah, so please do keep working on yourself, keep loving yourself, have faith that you can become the next wonderful version of you. And I look forward to seeing you again in my next video. Okay, bye. Namaste.